Arturo, ¿me confirmas si ya empezamos? Listo. Buenos días a todos. Bienvenidas y bienvenidos a esta tercera sesión del seminario permanente. Estoy muy complacida de estar aquí con ustedes y de presentar y moderar esta conversación. En esta ocasión nos acompaña un artista y un invitado muy especial. Es Jinseok Choi. Y quiero presentarme primero. Mi nombre es Carolina Fandiño, soy docente del programa de artes plásticas de la Universidad del Bosque y también tengo labores en la coordinación del programa. Quiero contarles un poco cuál va a ser la dinámica y el orden del día para nuestra conversación. En primer lugar, voy a introducir a nuestro invitado, voy a leer una corta biografía del artista en español, luego en inglés. Más adelante, Jin va a presentar, va a hacer una presentación breve y va a hablar de 4 o 5 de sus proyectos. Luego ya vamos a entrar en materia y vamos a conversar acerca de varias cosas. La primera, sobre la transición de la vida académica a la vida del artista profesional, que creo que en el caso de Jin es muy pertinente, importante, porque es cuando él termina sus estudios de maestría en Estados Unidos, que casi que se ve forzado a tratar temas alrededor de la inmigración. Luego vamos a hablar de otros temas subyacentes en la obra de Jin, como temas identitarios, temas que tienen que ver con la identidad cultural, con la clase social, y vamos a ver cómo ambas se intersectan y se entrecruzan en su trabajo y cómo él hace para traducirlas a términos materiales, simbólicos, conceptuales. Luego, en la mitad de nuestra conversación, Jin va a hablar acerca de 2 trabajos que tiene en paralelo a su práctica artística. El primero como fabricator, que es básicamente lo que hace una serie de personas, un equipo de personas muy hábiles en términos técnicos y en términos manuales, y lo que hacen las instituciones de arte es contratarlos para que fabriquen obras de arte para artistas contemporáneos. Entonces, él trabaja en eso y también nos va a contar sobre su emprendimiento o nuevo negocio, que es construyendo y fabricando muebles en madera. Y ya en la tercera y última parte, Jin nos tiene una sorpresa, va a hacer una corta demostración y después de eso vamos a la sección de preguntas, que es nuestra última sección. Quiero recordar que este conversatorio se hace en el marco de la clase de Juan Covelli, seminario de grado. Entonces, por eso nos acompañan hoy acá los estudiantes de la clase que están en pantalla y que van a participar posiblemente al final de la conversación. Quiero hacer la aclaración de que la conversación va a estar completamente hablada en inglés, pero si durante o al final tienen preguntas, las pueden formular en español y yo con gusto las voy a traducir. Entonces, ahora voy a cambiarme a inglés para que Jin sepa en qué punto estamos y porque seguramente tenemos audiencia angloparlante. So I'm going to switch to English right now. So hello, Jean, and welcome, and thanks for being here. Thanks for accepting this invitation.
Yeah, hi Carolina, and hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm super excited about this.
Yes, me too. And as I was saying, I am going to repeat a few of the things that I just said, so to make sure that we are all on the same page. And because I think we might have Anglo-speaking or English-speaking audience. So welcome everyone. Good morning. And I am very excited and very pleased to be hosting this event today for the second time. This event is happening in another class, which is a seminary, a graduation seminary. So basically, that's like an introduction for our conversation, and I am also very and extremely thrilled to be sharing this platform with my good friend and colleague, the interdisciplinary and South Korean artist Jinseok Choi. So I want to tell you what is going to be our agenda for today's conversation. So first thing, I'm going to introduce our guest. I'm going to read Jean's bio in Spanish and then in English. And afterwards, I think Jean is going to present a very brief slideshow, and he's going to talk about 4 or 5 of his projects. And later on, we'll dive into the conversation and we'll talk about the transition between academic life and real life as an artist, which I think in Jean's case is important, since at the very moment when you finished the MFA or your master's in the US, you were almost forced to face or reflect around issues that had to do with immigration. And later on, we'll talk about other underlying aspects of your work, such as identity, racial identity, cultural identity, and social class, and how those elements intersect and collide in your work, and how do you translate them to material, symbolic, conceptual terms. And afterwards, you're going to tell us about your experience being a fabricator. And I hope you can give us more context on what a fabricator does, and the fact that you're running your own business. And I think after that, you have like a short demo prepared for us. And then we have our Q&A, which is the last section. So without further ado, please welcome Jinseok Choi. So Jin, the mic and the screen are all yours.
Okay, perfect. So I prepared for this slideshow, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Carolina, are you seeing this, my screen? Hello?
Yes, yeah, I'm seeing your screen.
Okay.
Yes.
So, okay, I'm just gonna jump right in. Hi, everyone. Thank you again. Thank you so much for having me today and giving me this opportunity to talk about my work and share my experience since my graduation. So first, to introduce myself and to give you some context of myself and my practice, I will share a couple of works that I have made since I came to the United States. I was born and raised in Seoul, South Korea, and I moved to Los Angeles in 2016 for my MFA program at CalArts, California Institute of the Arts. And through my art, I have been addressing political issues that I have experienced directly or indirectly. So when I moved to the United States, of course, my surroundings have changed quite a lot. And in result, that changed my work too. Before I came here, my works were about like Korean political issues such as generational conflicts, patriarchal hierarchy, and homogenous culture of the Korean society. And then after I moved to the United States, racism and how racism affects an individual in everyday life became a big theme for me. A lot of my works are quite language heavy, especially the works I'm going to share today. And also there are different mediums I use for each work, such as sculpture, video, installation, performance, or sometimes all of them in one piece. So I'll need to explain quite a lot about the context of each piece. Yeah, I'll do my best. Okay, so the first piece I will share with you is titled The Patched Question. And this is the second piece I made since I started my MFA CalArts. I made this video installation with 4 participants, and actually Carolina was one of them. I'm gonna play a short version of this. The original length is 5 minutes, but this is the short version is 2.5 minutes, and you'll have a good sense of what the work is about. So I'm gonna play first, and then I'll talk about the methodological process that is super important about this work.
To be or not to be, that is the question. I have something to tell you. Look, you know, we all have 2 totally different faces. And part of us wants to believe there's always a place we could go. But the other part of us doesn't buy that. The other part ignores the world. It was just born to be skeptical, born to hate everything, born to be isolated, frustration, and anger, and sometimes rage. This world is fucked up, but I'll be fucked up right next to you. You are not alone. No, you are alone, but I'm alone too. Alone together. Yeah, I really think in my country, disgusting things are happening. So many people go out for the protest, and I'm just lying in my place and looking at my phone. What am I doing here? What are you doing here? You know, it's funny. People believe that things will get better. No. Things will be just the same. The president in my country doesn't affect your country, but yours affects my country so much. Yeah, well, my country is like a much more fucked up version of yours. If it's so fucked up, then why don't you already kill yourself? You know you can't be everywhere to stand against everything. You know there is something happening, and you just ignore it. I do too. So why are you even here and looking at me? I'm just a stupid sculpture. Go home and kill everything around you and be alone. I've died in many different ways. So be like me, and I'll be alone, right next to you. To be or not to be? That's not a question.
Okay, so I created this Hamlet-like character based on the 4 individual conversations I had with the participants. I asked them the same question. The question was, "What is your experience of being alienated?" And the conversations just went on. So mostly they talked about what they had been going through and their personal struggles, and also the politics that they felt overwhelmed by. And then I transcribed all of their words and sentences, and only using their words and sentences, I wrote this monologue. So the character was created by 5 of us, including myself, and it shows the shared consciousness of these 5 people who are from very different backgrounds. The character is made depressing intentionally, not necessarily because the 5 of the participants were feeling hopeless or anything, but because I wanted to show that even though each one of them was struggling with different political problems, those problems could actually be considered global trend, the result of global trend. In other words, I think I was focused on how to express and share strong emotions that we all feel individually, but through very methodological process, almost like a mechanical process. I thought it can tell you that, like, hey, don't forget, I know the problem is overwhelming and I can't fix it for you, but at least you are not alone there. That kind of togetherness was what I was aiming for with this work. Okay. And the next piece is titled, "I Will Convince You That I Don't Need to Convince You." So this was a solo exhibition that I had, I think it was about 8 months after my graduation. And then Yeah. So yeah, at the time I was obsessed with how certain stereotypes against Asian Americans have been repeated and circulated in the United States. So my question was like, what is the logic, behind of this nonsensical stereotypes against Asian Americans? What is the big structure behind this collective racism? And what are the survival tactics and strategies that Asian Americans or any other marginalized groups of people have been taking? And to explore that, I collected materials like articles, images, stand-up comedies. Especially, yeah, I watched a lot of stand-up comedies because it was a new thing for me. Also, TV cartoons and quotes from Asian American entertainers, etc., that deal with racist jokes, stereotypes, or minority people's struggles and strategies, etc. They are held by live cast fingers and attached to architectural materials like metal conduits and breast pipes. For those of you who don't know what metal conduits and breast pipes are for, metal conduits are for electrical wires and breast pipes are for water. So they are always they are in the behind of the walls in every building. So if you think of buildings as living organisms, metal conduits and breast pipes are like veins that circulate water and electricity. So the exhibition was addressing how absurd and outdated the misconception of people of color has been, and how much of it is being perpetuated by media over and over and over again. And the fingers represent ourselves as a part of this systematic racism, but also as a potential agent to fight against it. Yeah. And then the next one I want to share is titled Portfolio for O1 Visa Application. So this is a big drawing piece that I made when I was at Vermont Studio Center. Vermont Studio Center is a 4 weeks residency program. It's one of the biggest residency programs in the United States. So obviously I was super excited about it, excited about the residency program. But when I got there, I think it was May 2019. I actually had to spend most of my time putting together all the documents for this visa application that I had to finish. So as you can see, yeah, the back papers are printed images of my works and press articles to prove that I am an active artist. The judge will look through this portfolio and other documents together and decide whether I am "quote unquote" extraordinary enough to stay in the United States or not. So if they think you are not extraordinary enough, you are not going to get. They are not going to give you a visa. So when I was done with this tedious job, putting together all the portfolio, I only had a couple of days left until I leave the residency program. So I put the papers on the wall. I believe it was about 120 pages in total. And the dimensions are in centimeters, it's 350 centimeters wide and 223 centimeters high. So it's pretty big. So I put all the papers on the wall together, and on top of the papers, I made this super like expressive drawings using my body, I mean, imagine you work with your laptop for more than 3 weeks at a residency program where all the other artists like hang out together, make works, and enjoy the nature around it, etc., etc. So I was so upset that I was wasting so much time on this stupid visa process. So I used my body making large marks on the papers, and I covered the documents. That was like that. That's why the drawing has a lot of like kind of like aggressive marks. Yeah, it was fun though. Okay, and the next one. So this one is titled Graduation Kit for International Art Students. So after I was done with the whole visa process, I thought I had to put together all the information and useful tips and turn that into like a booklet, like a very informative booklet for visa applicants. So other international art students can benefit from it, you know. I also made a PDF version of it so people can download it. Let me actually show you what the PDF file looks like. I'm gonna,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, get out of this and so this is the cover, and it's 24 pages. It's not very long, and it uh, talks about two different things. One is O1 visa process, and the other one is health insurance, because that was the most confusing thing you can ever imagine after graduation. So it starts with this letter I wrote to international art students. So I'm just gonna read it. It's not very long. It's only 2 pages, and also you're gonna understand what the purpose was.
Okay.
So I'm gonna read it. Dear my friends and all the international art students whom I relate to, graduation was the end of my safety fence. Graduation was the beginning of my struggle as an alien in the United States, because I was planning to stay in the United States rather than go back to my home country. Graduation Kit for International Art Students is the culmination of my struggle before and after graduation, and all the trials and errors I have been through, and the vague information I am gathering for my future. I felt like I juggled with 10 different things all at once within a year following graduation, but actually most of them kind of converged into two main issues: O1 visa and health insurance. The weird thing is that there are so many international students graduate and go through the same things every year, but there isn't that much information available about them. Of course, I talked to many people like lawyers and school employees from International Students Affairs Department, but despite of all the overwhelming information, they don't give you the details that you need to plan ahead. The reason is simple. They are not the people who had to go through the same obstacles. The people who went through all of that don't usually keep all the tips and tricks and pass them along to others, because they are already dealing with other problems they are facing in their lives. Being an immigrant is in the United States is no joke, especially under Trump administration. You get past one thing only to face another. It's hard to pause, catch your breath, look around, and help others. However, one thing I noticed after going through numerous things: intense visa application, finger injuries, shitty health insurance, a full-time job, part-time jobs, a solo exhibition, group exhibition, residency programs, etc., is that we need more of unionized actions in the art world. Art people love to talk about communities, justice, and social goods, while their individualized and competitive mindset doesn't really allow any room for real care. And we are all end up left isolated with the same life problems. Maybe that's how our systems oppress us. They make sure we are all separated so we can't gather and unionize. Maybe that's their true genius. I don't know. What I do know now is that I have some knowledge and tips about U1 visa process and health insurance I obtained throughout last year. And I do know that if I don't write them down and spread them out, they will slip away from my memory. That's why I turned that into a project, so people like me, international students who will graduate from art school soon and are planning to stay in the United States, can benefit from this. If you are one of them, I can only tell you so much about what my friends and I went through. But by doing so, you might not have to make the same stupid mistakes that I made. This is my way of unionizing with you. I hope this will relieve a little bit of your burden after graduation. I keep my fingers crossed for you and myself with all my heart. Sincerely, Jin. And then, it goes on to the all the information about U1 visa application, and the second chapter is about health insurance. Healthcare system in the United States is the most confusing thing in the world. It's made overly complicated for people because then people will pay a lot of money. I mean, you don't have to pay a lot of money, but if you are not well informed, you end up just paying so much money for like really terrible health insurance.
Yeah.
So it's kind of breaking down all the confusing terms, things like that. And I will go back to the slideshow.
Yes.
Okay, so after I put together all the information and made the booklets, I was invited to a group show that my friend Adam Lutz organized for his thesis. So he organized a group show, which was his own thesis show at CalArts, and he invited me into the group show. So by the time it was 1 year after my graduation, I just got my visa. So I was thinking, okay, this is a great opportunity for me to go back to school and give other international students all the information I just have right now, So what I did was in the gallery space, I brought this table and the booklets and the QR code for PDF version. I also brought a laptop to share how I organized my documents. And then I also reached out to a couple of school employees at CalArts so that they can send out emails to international art students about this event, this one-to-one consultation performance, so that they can come up to me and ask a bunch of questions about the health insurance and O1 visa process. Yeah. So that was the performance. So in the gallery, it was just like me and other people talking about these things. So I think this performance was kind of dividing the audience into two different groups. One is international art students who need this information. So for them, they don't even care if it's art or not. They just came up to me because they needed the information, right? But for the other group, which is like random American viewers walking into the gallery, for them, it's gallery space, right? And as you can see in the background, there are a bunch of artworks on the walls and on the floor. So for them, like it looks like a performance, but also because this is a one-to-one consultation, it brings their attention to the systematic hurdles that some of their friends have to face in their future. So yeah, and the last one. So what am I working on right now? Right now, the guy in red shirt is Adam Lutz, who I just mentioned. So Adam and I are working on this trailer right now, and we are renovating it, and we're going to turn that into a mobile exhibition platform. So we are going to invite many artists we know who are very talented, but also who are underrepresented. And we're going to invite them and have them do whatever they want to do, The cool thing about having a mobile gallery is, you can drive this thing around the city and we can have whatever we want, wherever we want, basically. We are planning to have like group shows, but also we're going to use it as like a performance stage, and also we're going to organize screenings, things like that. Yeah, that's all I prepared for today. Yeah, Carolina, do you want to take over and move on to the conversation?
Yes, let's do that. Thank you for that. And I just realized I forget to read your bio. So I will quickly read your bio in Spanish and then English, and then we'll move on, okay? Olvidé leer la biografía del artista, entonces voy a leerla en español y luego en inglés y luego continuaremos. Entonces, Jinseok Choi es un artista interdisciplinar que activa el contexto político de nuestro tiempo a través de investigaciones históricas y culturales, y está interesado en aludir a temáticas aparentemente sin relación por medio de la escritura, la instalación, la escultura, el performance y el video. Su trabajo reciente ha sido exhibido en varios países como Corea del Sur y Estados Unidos, y diferentes espacios culturales, incluyendo Amado Art Space, Human Resources, The Box y Vercards, ha participado en múltiples residencias artísticas como The Studios en Mass Mocha, Vermont Studio Center y Otis Summer Residency, y recientemente fue nominado al Emerging Grant uh, del año. Estoy escuchando un eco. Jin, can you cancel your mic just in case we have like noise in the back? Okay, good. Fue nominado al Emerging Artist Grant del 2020 del Rema Hortman Foundation y realizó sus estudios de maestría en CalArts y actualmente vive y trabaja en Los Ángeles, California. Ahora en inglés. So, Jinseok Choi is an interdisciplinary artist who activates our time and political surroundings by researching historical and cultural context and weaving seemingly unrelated issues via writing, installation, sculpture, performance, and video. His recent works have been shown at various art venues in South Korea and the US, including Amado Art Space, Human Resources, The Box, and Verkarts, and he has participated in multiple residency programs such as the studios at Mass Mocha, Vermont Studio Center, and Otis Summer Residency, and was also recently nominated at Emerging Artist Grant 2020 of Rema Hortman Foundation. He received his MFA from CalArts in 2018 and currently lives and works in Los Angeles, California. So, okay, so now let's move into the conversation, Jin. So now that we've seen some of your projects and that we have more context about your work, I wonder if you can tell us about your experience after graduation, not only the logistics and the technical aspects about applying for a visa, but also the emotional implications, the emotional investment in the process of requesting a visa during Trump administration.
Yeah, sure. For the logistics and how I organize my time and energy. As I talked about the body of work around the visa application process, my life after graduation has been in a quite specific situation. You know, for the first year, fresh out of CalArts, basically everything I did was geared towards my visa application. So, of course, I got a full-time job to have enough income to pay for the rent and the bills. I worked for an artist, Shirley Tse. She's a full-time faculty at CalArts. I worked for her right after graduation as a studio assistant. It was like, full-time job, 40 hours a week, producing most of her sculptures. And when I was not working for Shirley, I was either working in my studio or, checking LA gallery openings. So during the week, I would go to Shirley's studio early in the morning, work 8 hours, drive back to my studio and work on my own art. And on Saturdays, I would plan out which gallery openings I should check out that day and visit them. And on Sundays, I would just go straight to my studio and work. That was my life. I was lucky in a way because Shirley is an artist and she understands that I am also an artist, not just her studio assistant. So she was quite flexible with my own plans, with residencies, exhibitions, and et cetera, et cetera. So, for example, when I had to get out of town for a couple of weeks for Mass Mocha, Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Arts, I calculate the time we have until her Shirley's Venice Biennale show and the sculptures we have to make, and told her that we still have this enough time. So even though I have to get out of the town for like a couple of weeks, it wouldn't be a problem. I felt like gaining her trust as a professional, was super important for me. So whenever I need some time off, she wouldn't have she wouldn't have to be worried about like managing her studio schedule. So during that year, I was able to pull off like 5 residencies, 5 group shows, 1 solo shows, things like that. I had to be super busy and super active because to apply for the visa, you have to prove that you have like quote unquote extraordinary ability in your field, which is the legal term they use. So yeah, and unfortunately, the visa processes in the United States is super interpretative, meaning your chance of getting the visa is totally dependent on your judge. Some people get the visa without that much of a career because the judge is generous. Some people don't get it even though their CV is very long. They have done a lot, but they still don't get it because the judge is super strict or skeptical or ignorant, or even because they are racist and biased against people of color or LGBTQ. You never know, basically. The process is extremely vague and non-transparent. So even lawyers might have different opinions on the same case. And also, of course, it also depends on the administration at that time. It was the Trump administration when I applied for the visa, and according to my lawyer, it was arguably the worst year for visa applicants in the past couple of decades. So luckily, I got my visa. It took 4 months, and I had 2 part-time jobs working for Shirley and also another artist, Todd Gray. And then a little later, as we all know, pandemic happened. I lost my jobs and started my own custom furniture business last September to make money, things like that. So here I am. Yeah. So that's the logistics, or what I kind of have organized my time and energy. And I was basically trying to find the balance between my day job and my art practice. Yeah, and to talk about my emotions and what I learned through that process, it's there are a lot of layers, I think. I was learning a lot about my situation, and also I was learning a lot about art world. It was a lot of like overwhelming feelings and emotions that I had. Yeah, I'll be super honest about it. So I have been feeling super disappointed and frustrated at the time, facing the reality of the art world. Art people love to talk about social justice, solidarity, resistance, resilience, all those things that are super important for us to fight against, capitalism, colonialism, patriarchy, inequality, racism, things like that. Art people is, especially people in art institutions, I think, seem to be super passionate about the important values, and they got us thinking like, the word out there is like gross, but at least I feel like I can be much more hopeful about art and the art world, because art people always talk about those important things, right? What I learned is I don't think it's true at all. The art world is no different at all. Unfortunately, there is racial hierarchy, gender inequality, all the kind of things that they still exist in the art world, I think. And what makes it harder for people like us, meaning artists who just started their career, is that artists are so individualized and isolated. And I would say it's partly our fault. I mean, a lot of us still believe in the myth that one genius artist creates all the amazing art. We don't talk about how much creative work studio assistants put into the artworks of that artist. There is definitely a lack of standardized systems to credit studio assistants. To name a few, I mean, the wage is super low, health benefits are rare, work environment is often toxic physically and mentally. Yeah, and it's not just studio assistants who are mistreated. I mean, how about the work environment at galleries and museums? For example, unpaid internship opportunities at museums, it's ridiculous. Unpaid internship only allows rich people to work there and grow their connections. Young curators who can't afford those unpaid opportunities are excluded from the network. There are many, many, many problems without any systematic support for art workers. So instead of like talking about all the political aspects of those art workers, studio assistants, museum staffs, gallery staffs, and even art handlers, the one genius artist and one genius curator take all the credits. It's truly winner takes it all type of myth. This is the most capitalist thing I can think of. No wonder why the art world is as corrupt as all the other fields. Lack of unionization is what it is, I think. So experiencing and learning about this has been like really frustrating and infuriating, unfortunately. However, you always have to end it with some positive twig at the end. However, what keeps me going is the little actions and the little stories that my friends and I create together. Just as I said that isolation is the biggest enemy for us, collaboration is always the savior that takes you to much more like hopeful and creative place. Kilian, I always say this to you, but like whenever we talk about like what each of us is working on for a new project and what kind of books we have read recently, how we can understand a political issue, those little conversations always take me out of the depressive impasse in which I'm stuck oftentimes, and help me think about like what I can really do as an artist. And also, another example is like I showed you the trailer project I'm working on with my friend Adam. Both of us thought we need a versatile space for underrepresented artists like us so that they have a platform to show experimental works. We know a lot of talented artists who don't get the right recognition that they deserve. So, once our trailer is done and ready to go, we will invite them and have them do whatever they want to do. So just like thinking about all the possibilities we can have with the mobile space and what we can do together excites me so much, And it is not something you can do alone, You can't make that happen alone. You can only do it by like sharing thoughts, making mistakes together, and learning from each other, So yeah, I think I was able to get through post-graduation depression by only talking to my friends and learning from them. Otherwise, I don't know, I might have given up art already. Who knows? Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's super interesting. Everything you've mentioned is really interesting. I'm particularly attracted to what you've said about unionizing and collaboration. That I think is very important for every artist, but for young artists, that's especially important. So, but okay, so let's continue. Let's keep going. And I wanted to ask you, like, how moving from South Korea to the U.S. affected your work and almost forced you to, to reflect around identity issues. And I wonder if you could briefly explain to the audience what is happening right now in the US and in Europe in terms of identitarian debates, right? Like, what is, I wonder if you can just like explain very briefly what identity politics are and why do you think they are relevant? And I know that I have asked like 3 questions already, but I think it is important to add another one, which is somehow related, and it's about social class, right? You are interested in how physical labor affects bodies, right? So I wonder if you can go through all of these questions and expand on this.
Okay, yeah, well, big question.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with identity politics. What is identity politics? So, I had to look up the definition, because it's one of those words that are used and repeated and applied a lot of times, so that like almost it loses like the original definition, So identity politics basically signifies a wide range of political activities and theorizing founded in the shared experiences of injustice of members of certain social groups that are formed based on race, gender, religion, class, or any other social factors. So as we all know, there are many examples, such as feminism, Black Lives Matter movement, LGBTQ social movements, to mention only a few. So it is a great tool for marginalized people to share their thoughts, mobilize together and create political power together to fight against the injustice and oppression supported by social and legal systems. So it is to bring awareness and recognition that they deserve as human beings. And that is what you're seeing in the United States right now. Black Lives Matter movements call out the law enforcement and asserts that it needs to be defunded or abolished to end the long history of police brutality. AAPI communities are, AAPI stands for Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. So AAPI communities are rallying together, raising funds and educating other groups of people to stop Asian hate crimes that have been ramped up significantly since pandemic. So that's the the answer about identity politics and how it's affected my practice. So like I told you, as someone who was born and raised in South Korea, where I definitely belong to the majority in terms of race, I have to admit that I was not super sensitive about racial inequality and immigrant issues that exist in Korea. It was actually after I moved to the United States for my graduate school, and I started to see and experience very closely the systematic failure against marginalized people. And of course, this problem is everywhere, not just the United States, not just Korea, it's everywhere. So I started to address identity politics in my work. However, the more I create work around it, the less I am interested in just commenting on social inequity. I think I'm trying to analyze the strategies that the oppressive systems take to perpetuate itself, and I'm also trying to experiment with potential strategies that we can take to counterattack, things like that. So definitely identity politics is something that changed my work a lot since I moved to the United States. Yeah. And what was the last question was about the class,
Yeah.
So yeah, one thing that I have been thinking a lot about recently in terms of identity politics is that in the art world, I feel like we don't talk that much about class as a super important social factor. We don't talk about it as much as we talk about race and gender. And I think it's partly because your class is so much tied to your racial identity in the United States. So oftentimes classism is addressed indirectly by addressing racism, And also maybe partly because, I don't know, people tend to think art as something only for high class, So art seems to be considered a class divider rather than a place where we can have meaningful discussion about classism, But I'm a fabricator. Fabricator means like I'm a person who makes stuff, who builds things. So as a fabricator who works with physical labor every day, the label of working class is a big part of my identity right now, I think. And I don't see many artists create work around this issue. Meaning, this issue, meaning, the amount of physical labor that is forced upon the toxic work environment, minimum wage, and geopolitical factors of classism, and how all of these impact an individual physically and psychologically. So recently I've been thinking a lot about what is the best way to talk about this, as an artist. So what is the tangible issues I'm dealing with right now? And my main issue right now is the enemies, my enemies that I encounter every day. My enemies are sawdust, loud machine noise, muscle pain, wrist pain kind of thing. Sawdust is something, it's a, I gotta protect my lungs against sawdust, so I always have to wear like a good quality mask. I also need to protect my ears from all the loud machine noise. Also wrist pain has been getting really worse for me. So they are very tangible things that affect my body every day, and now I'm just trying to figure out how to turn them into art or art materials. Just like I did with O1 visa process. It's like when your life is so brutal and when something bothers you so much, you gotta make art out of it. Making art out of it is the only way to save myself from depression. So yeah, that's what I've been thinking a lot recently in terms of class and physical labor.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I think in Colombia we don't have much conversation around race. Definitely, social class is a big issue, and oftentimes race is tied or closely related to social class. But I don't think we have that much conversation around race, and that for me is a pity. I think we should address racism here more often. But I think, I don't know, it's my belief that white mestizo population like me, we have almost like adopted like a white colonial mindset. So we no longer see racism, or we don't think it is as present as it is. But okay, I won't say anything else about this. So you already talked about your experience working as a fabricator. So now, can you tell us about running, like how has it been to run your own business? And if you can give us like a very brief, concise answer, and then we'll do the demo and we'll go to the Q&A section.
Yeah. So I started the business just out of pure necessity in the middle of pandemic. Like I said, I lost my jobs. I applied for different jobs, but I didn't get any of them. Because how can you, right? Everyone is losing their jobs during this pandemic, and also, like I said, I'm on O1 visa, which means I am not allowed to take any jobs outside of my field. So it's like I can't really take a cashier job at a grocery store because I'm not allowed to. It's outside of my field. Which makes it even harder to get a job. So I decided to start the fabrication business because I already, had many tools, and I know some people who are willing to commission me to make things for them. So I'm still in the beginning stage, and the system in my studio is not quite set up perfectly. So I can't say I'm in a very comfortable position with this business. But that being said, the good thing about having my own business is, whenever I need to do something else that is not related to my business, I can always do that, as long as it doesn't affect meeting the deadlines for my clients, So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been interesting journey, and unfortunately, I don't know how long I can do this because, like I said, my body doesn't like physical work anymore. My wrist pain is just getting worse, and I'm only 34 now, but I'm not so sure if I can keep doing this for like more than a couple of decades until I retire. So yeah, I'm also applying to other teaching jobs, any kind of jobs that I don't have to abuse my wrist. But I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I'm doing my best to survive.
Yeah, I know that. So okay, so let's move on. And I know you have prepared like a short demo for us. So can you talk about it and show us your demo, please?
Yeah, sure. So like I said, I have been interested in turning my enemy into art or art material. So I've been collecting sawdust I make at work, so like this. This is yellow acacia sawdust that I collected from when I was making yellow acacia cutting boards. So I've been collecting sawdust, and I have been trying to come up with an idea of like, okay, how can I turn that into an art material? How can I use this sawdust and make some, I don't know, sculptures or whatever? And recently I took a workshop led by an artist whose name is Hyunji Park. She's an interesting artist, and also she makes incense. So making incense is part of a source of income for her. So when I took her workshop, I thought, this is perfect for my project, my work, because when you make incense, sawdust is the kind of the base, and you add a couple of other ingredients, mix them, and it becomes like a clay, and then you make just basically any kind of shape. So for example, I don't know if you can see it better.
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah, so this is an incense I made out of the yellow acacia sawdust. This one is a cone shape. You can, of course, you can make a stick. You can make something like this. Just basically any kind of shape that you want to make. So you make this incense and just let it dry for a couple of days, and then you're ready to go. So I'm gonna. You know what? Actually, maybe this is better. Yeah, I was burning this one last night because I was so nervous about this conversation. So I lit it up and kind of tried to calm myself down. So as you can see, like, this is made of sawdust, and it has this great smell. It's very subtle, but I like it a lot, and it helps me psychologically also. So I thought this is super interesting because sawdust is something that you don't want to breathe in, never, because you want to protect your lungs. But once I make this incense out of the sawdust I have been collecting, now you can light it up and breathe it in. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, it's totally different thing. It's not your enemy anymore. You know what I mean? So
yeah, because incense has a ritual character, right?
Yeah. So this is I'm very new to incense making, and I'm not so sure what I can do with this, but definitely I'm gonna make sculptures out of this material. Right now I'm kind of in the stage of kind of figuring out like my own recipe with my sawdust I have been collecting. So yeah, again, like I did with Owen visa process, when something bothers you so much, if there is an enemy, you gotta turn that into an art. You gotta make art out of it. It's a great opportunity. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's right. That's a really important lesson.
Yeah, definitely.
Turn your enemy into your friend. Okay, so if you agree, we'll move to the Q&A. So I'll move back to Spanish and then I'll translate, okay? Bueno, hemos llegado a la sección de preguntas, la sección final de nuestra conversación, entonces invitamos a los estudiantes y a nuestra audiencia a que por favor nos transmitan las preguntas. ¿Alguien quiere abrir su cámara, su micrófono y hacer la pregunta en español o tienen un comentario? O algún profesor, no sé. Juan. Our audience is shy today.
That's fine.
Juan. Juan, ya. No te escuchamos.
Hello. Yeah, me oyen?
Ya.
Hey, thank you for your time and for your presentation. Thank you for it was really nice to hear and to have another insight to another practice in another place in the US. I was thinking, bueno, lo voy a hacer en español y luego la traduzco, que mejor, más fácil.
Okay, so you're going to ask the question in Spanish and then you'll translate. Yeah.
Sí, me estaba preguntando como cuál es la relación, que si sigue habiendo una relación pues con el país de origen y digamos que pues ahí pues veo como esta pues querer quedarse y permanecer en el país, en Estados Unidos, las oportunidades y lo que pueda traer, pero mientras también pensar cómo, qué pasa con esa relación con las raíces y con el país de origen, si existe, si todavía está o si se ha desvanecido y si se ha pensado en algún momento como dejar la lucha de ser aceptado en un lugar externo y volver pues al país. Entonces lo voy a preguntar en inglés. I was just thinking, I was just wondering, what's your relationship with your home country? Like, do you still have ties to it? Like, do you go back often? And do you have not practiced there? Do you show work there, or what's the relationship with your home country? And if you ever thought of going back and stop like the kind of the hassle of like the bees and all of that, and just come back to your country.
So I'm sure the answer to the question is different for other artists, but for me, when I moved to the United States, I was already planning to stay in the United States because for some reason I felt like the art scene in Korea was a little bit I think the works, there are a lot of talented artists, there are so many talented curators, but also I was feeling a little bit I had a distance, like psychological distance from the art scene because I have been interested in a lot of like political issues, but I felt like the Korean art scene was a lot different from what I was interested in. And when I came to the United States, I was thinking like, okay, I want to stay here and see what it looks like here and what it feels like here. But also, I wasn't 100% sure if the art scene, the art world, is something that I was expecting, But yeah, in the end, I liked it a lot, and there is a lot of like diversity in LA art scene, which I really love. And yeah, but I mean, my relationship to my home country it hasn't changed. I mean, I was born and raised in South Korea, and all of my family members are in South Korea. Right now, I can't go back to South Korea and visit my family as much as I want because of pandemic. Right now, if I go back to South Korea, I have to quarantine myself for 2 weeks. That's really long time, And then like at least I want to have like a week or two to spend time with my family. And then if I come back, it's like a month or something. But like I have to pay for the rent, I have to, there's just like money just disappearing if I'm not making money in the United States. So that's one big issue for me. So that's why I'm not going back to South Korea as much as I want. Yeah, and also right now I don't have any show in Korea, but I have been thinking a lot about like what would happen if I show my works in Korea? Like, what would happen if I show the works I have made in the United States, bring them to South Korea and show them there? Because again, like the identity politics is not as big as it is in the United States. and a lot of my works are around it. So yeah, that's an interesting question. I think about it all the times. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in showing my works in South Korea if I can in the future. Yeah, but right now, I'm just focused on the trailer project and the Sawdust project I'm working on. Yeah, and my business.
Thank you, Jin. And I'm just gonna make another question, if you don't mind. And I was interested in when you spoke about the politics and how the job market in when you work for other artists and when you're like a studio assistant and you're working making art for others. It was really interesting because it's something that no one really talks about. It's kind of like it's shush. No one wants to talk about it, and I think it's really fascinating that you bring it up. And I was thinking that is this if you talk that so as open as we're talking about it, is it like contraproducent? Like is it bad for you in the art scenes? Like, have you ever had like I don't know? Is it make is it is a problem for you, or do you think it's good to be talking about it? And do you think things are changing or not? At least in America, in that sense.
Juan, do you want to repeat it in Spanish so people can?
Yes. No, le estaba preguntando a Jane sobre, pues que él está muy interesado en, y habló abiertamente sobre la precarización del arte y cómo es algo que es muy constante en Estados Unidos y cómo él pues ha tenido que trabajar para otros artistas y nunca se le da el reconocimiento por su trabajo. Entonces le estaba preguntando que si hablar tan abiertamente sobre eso era contraproducente para él y si él sentía que hablando habían cambios al respecto de esto.
Yeah. So yeah, talking about the work environment of studio assistants, it's of course it's a big elephant in the room. I think everyone is aware of it. Everyone knows that the studio assistant, like the system, and the average of their wage is quite low, and it's not sustainable for artists like us at all. I think everyone knows about it, and also in terms of the unpaid internship at museums and galleries, I think a lot of people knows about it too. Just people just don't know how to change it. So, for example, I was listening to a podcast called Carla Contemporary Art Review Los Angeles, and in one episode, Jamila James was a curator at ICA LA. She was talking about like why she feels like she started her career like a lot later than she wanted because right after graduation she couldn't work at a museum because she needed a real job to pay for all the rent and bills and everything. And so she felt like super excluded from the art world because of that reason, you know. So she had like different jobs before she got a job at. I think she had a curator job at Hammer Museum first. I mean, in Los Angeles. I mean, of course, she had a curator job in different institutions, I think. But in LA, Hammer Museum was her first workplace, as far as I know. And then I believe she moved to ICA LA. But you know, she is open about it. She maybe she feels more comfortable because she is like an important curator in LA. Now her name is big. She is the curator at the super big institution. You know, things like that. You know, like I said, everyone knows basically, and maybe I am more open about it because I don't know. I feel like I don't have that many connections in the art world in Los Angeles still, and most connections I have or I have built is like between me and my friends, you know. So even though I talked about like how difficult it is to work as a studio assistant, I'm not saying the artists I worked for were necessarily bad, or you know they were like bad employers or anything. It's just the system that is the problem. You know, one individual cannot change the whole system. You know, for example, Shirley is a great person to work for. Shirley has been, you know, super supportive, but she couldn't hire me anymore because she has been able to hire me only because she got sponsored by M Plus Museum in Hong Kong. So the museum had been supporting her financially for 2 years. So the first year for Venice Biennale show and the second show at M Plus Museum in Hong Kong. But after that, you know, the contract was done and Shirley couldn't afford it anymore. So that's why I'm not working for her anymore. And I know she did her best. You know, she had like a insurance for me. So if anything bad happens in her studio, you know, I knew it was covered. It would be covered. But still, I know that Shirley cannot change everything. It's not someone. It's not something that one individual can change everything. You know. So like I said, I don't know. Maybe I'm more open about it because I got nothing to lose. I don't know. Yeah, but like I said, everyone knows that it's messed up.
Yes, that's right. Okay, I wonder if students have any other questions or okay. I think we ran out of time. So or yeah, no te escuchamos.
No se oye. Espera, no se oye.
Ok.
Ahora sí, ahora sí.
¿Ya?
Ahora
Ok. Les decía que si me podrían traducir. Es chiquita la pregunta.
la última. Ah, una tuya pregunta. Sí, 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 dale.
Sí, sí, gracias. Bueno, primero, para decirle que gracias por mostrarnos su trabajo y me gustaría escuchar un poquito más, porque justo hace un momento en clase de seminario hablábamos de la problematización del medio. Y cuando hablas del video, me gustaría saber un poco más de qué te ha permitido pensar el video en ese proceso de resistencia a través del cuerpo, de todo eso que hablaste alrededor de. Sí, como ese proceso de resistencia en ese lugar específico y en específico ese medio que te ha permitido pensar. Ya, esa es la pregunta.
¿La traduces tú, Caro, o la traduzco yo?
Lo que quieras.
Dale, dale.
¿La traduzco o la
Sí, sí.
traduzco?
Dale,
Okay.
dale.
Okay, so I'm going to translate. So the student is grateful because of your presentation, and she's also asking about video as a place of resistance and almost as a political platform. So if you could expand on that.
The video, like as a medium.
As a medium.
Yeah, as a medium. She's talking
I mean,
about the medium as how to problematize a video and how to use it as a tool for the issues you're touching on.
So as a disclaimer, video is not my like primary medium for me, but I still use it because it's super interesting medium for me when especially like it's I like the dynamic between like when I have like a big installation piece, I like the dynamic the video creates with sculpture, and especially I think video can be it has a lot of potential right now, I think, because it's relatively old material, but still there's a lot going on with the medium because, you know, if you think about like TikTok or like social media and like how people use them, you know. Also, I'm thinking about Arthur Jafa's video piece. So the way usually Arthur Jafa makes his film or video work is that there aren't that many videos or footages that he takes by himself. he just collects and collects and collects so many clips from like YouTube or like video, social media and things like that. And so it's almost like he's a weaver, you know. He collects so many footages that are produced by like random people, and he creates a different meaning by weaving all of them. You know what I mean? So that's something I'm super interested in. Like, you don't have to produce your own video because, you know, these days there are just so many footages that are like being made constantly. And, you know, like, especially, I mean, I'm not on TikTok. I'm not big on TikTok, but I know that like it's just super interesting for me to see like how much time and energy people are putting into it. And I felt like TikTok is just like for fun, but then like I know that there are some people use the platform kind of to educate other people, you know, things like that. So yeah, that's something that I'm super interested, like video as a medium that is produced by like random people, not just, you know, it's like photo, you know, everyone has a camera right now in their pockets, which is iPhone or, you know, any kind of smartphone. Everybody takes photos and uploads on the internet. It's like huge database that you can use. So that kind of aspect, like a collective data, is the aspect that I'm super interested in when it comes to video. Yeah. I don't know if that answers the question, but yeah.
I think so, right? I think we're running out of time, but I want to thank everyone that made possible this event. So Arturo, who is helping us with the broadcast, and Juan for inviting us to his class, and Jin for your generosity in terms of knowledge and everything else. So, and the students because they are like a really great audience. So thanks everyone, and see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Gracias a
Bye.
todos. Chao, chao.